I don't know who you are, but welcome to the Irish Photography Podcast. Sit back, relax, and listen about cameras, gear, settings, stories, and all things photography. Join Darren on Ireland's Best Photography Podcast. Let's go.
And you're very welcome to episode 128 of the Irish Photography Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host this evening, and I'm joined by a good friend of mine, somebody who was on the podcast a couple of weeks back, and I really enjoyed the chat. And I said, you know what, why don't you come on, because you've got a huge amount of experience, and you can tell us what your thoughts are on a very popular segment that we have on the podcast, which is the Shunday Showcase and the Instagram Spotlight. So welcome back to the Irish Photography Podcast, Rodney O Callaghan. Rodney, how are you getting on, buddy?
Hey Darren, yeah, I'm getting on great. Thanks for having me back so soon.
Sure. You know what, I enjoyed it so much, and I said, you know what, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts on the photographs that are shared every week in our Facebook group. And I suppose, you know, from that point of view, I think it's been a very good exercise as well. I know I was talking to you here before we started to record. It's quite interesting to look at the different types of images that are being posted up by the members within the group on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, quite a lot. I asked you, was it only 3 images I could pick? I'll be honest, I could pick about 10. You know, and the standard is very, it's fantastic, very diverse. I suppose some of the images that I've gone for, the first one definitely you probably won't expect at all. I'm hoping you won't. I think we'll be very different. But I really enjoyed looking at the images, you know, and there's certainly, there's about 10 images stood out, you know, and it's how to narrow them down to the ones you actually want to talk about. Like essentially I'm a landscape photographer, but the top image I've picked, it is not a landscape image, you know.
Interesting.
So,
That's something to happen to me as well on a few occasions in the past ones that I look at, because you'd expect me again from similar to that to pick a landscape photo, but it's just the quality every single time, every single week, every time I look at it, I go, man, is this getting better? Yeah. Is it getting better again? Yeah. And it's just incredible to see the progress, not only of the images, but also because I know a lot of the photographers will post there on a regular basis, and you can even see the progression of their images as well as each week will go by. So that's interesting. You say that the one you've picked isn't a landscape image. But I suppose even before we get into that, how are you getting on anyway since you were last on? I mean, you know, you were on just before Christmas. I mean, we're back into lockdown again now. So, I mean, like, what have you been doing? Have you been kind of finding new ways to take photos again, or are you kind of?
I suppose I've been out a lot with the drone, you know.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Been out a lot with the drone. Really enjoying that. Using my local park. When did we go into lockdown? Was it before Christmas? Did we go into lockdown?
Well, we were in lockdown before Christmas. Then we had a small bit of a kind of a respite from it, and then it went back into full-on lockdown again just before New Year's.
Yeah.
And now since that, then again, we've had even tighter restrictions. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep track of them at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know, the county, I suppose, was great. You know, we're the biggest county in Ireland, which is an advantage.
Yes.
But saying that, it'll take me 2.5 hours to get down to Castletown Bear, but I can't go to Killarney, which is 50 minutes away, and that's killing me altogether. You know.
Well, yeah. And you know what? We're limited to the 5 kilometers at the moment, but they're talking now about reducing that down to even 2 kilometers. Can you believe?
Well,
so
I'll
that's going to be even
Donald
more
Park.
interesting.
Yeah.
So your drone will actually come in. Yeah, and with your drone has been phenomenal. Some of the images I've seen you post there, you've got some very unique perspectives using the nice winter low light. That's been an interesting thing for me to look at.
Yeah, I guess what intrigues me about the drone is you know, I'm taking a leaf out of your book here now, Darren. Because when I started with you flying the drone, you know, you were flying the drone and you said to me, I record all the time. I record everything. And I was saying, "Geez, that's a waste. What you recording everything for? It's pictures you're taking." But flying and doing a bit of video has given me a different perspective of what I actually want to shoot, because I'm seeing things differently. Like I would be flying the drone somewhere where I may never have flown it to get a shot, just to take some video, when I'm actually seeing images now that if I wasn't shooting video, I would never get,
That's interesting.
And for me, that's kind of opened my eyes, So yeah, really enjoying it, I like doing stitching multiple images together, I must say. So I recently got a copy of PT GUI, and it's one of the long-standing photo stitchers, and like it will stitch waves, Darren, So
Okay.
it'll stitch waves. So like
Wow.
Lightroom and Photoshop are fantastic, but it's kind of opened up a whole new perspective for me rather than just taking the standard drone shot. I can take, let's say for instance, 180 degree panorama, and I can crop that to 16:9 and get the perspective I'm looking for. So
Class.
I also quite like vertoramas, where you're just taking 3 images and you can stretch out the foreground. It's fun. It's great fun. I'm really enjoying it.
It's good, and isn't it good to have that in our arsenal now when we're kind of, so stuck?
Oh, geez,
and I mean, even there from areas that you kind of wouldn't even think about looking at, but now looking down from the sky, it gives you a bird's eye view. And like the image I mentioned there is that with the morning light, I think it was morning light, that you'd taken there close to home, where you've got the trees, and all you're seeing effectively is the long stretched shadow of the trees.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't even think about that unless you were above looking down. And then at the same point, to be able to take that, but a good quality one too. I mean, with you have a Phantom 4 Pro, and that gives you very, very good quality images. But like, to look at that, you go, oh yeah, is it abstract? No. Is it? Yes. Is it landscape? Yes. No. And you kind of go, what is it? Because it's actually a completely different view. And when you first look at it, that's the whole, what I like about it. You double take, you go, what's that?
Yeah.
And then you're intrigued.
I suppose I call the image shadowscape,
Okay.
So, like, I've often shot cloudscapes, landscapes, seascapes, mountainscapes, but now I'm into shadowscapes, Is it actually a word? I don't know, But yeah.
Well, it is now.
Yeah,
It is now. It is now.
So it's it's a Mavic Pro 2 I'm using.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you changed it. So you changed from the Phantom to the Mavic Pro 2.
I did, because of all the traveling I was doing. I as much as I love the traveling, all I have is visuals from the traveling, and I'd love to kind of get some video footage from all the traveling that I do, and I think the Mavic was the way to go. Smaller,
It is
much smaller. It still has the same sensor that you have in the Phantom.
P4.
So yeah, enjoying it.
Great images, great shots.
Thank you.
So look, I suppose, now going back to where we were originally, I suppose from the subject of this evening's podcast.
Yeah.
So it's like the Shunday Showcase. And again, if somebody's new to the podcast, just to give you a bit of a reminder, we've got a Facebook group. It's called the Irish Photography Podcast. Just search for that on Facebook, hit join. It'll ask you a simple question, name a host or name a guest of the podcast, just purely to keep the bots and spam bots out of the group. But within the group then, every Sunday, typically around 7 p.m., I put up a post, which is the Shunday Showcase. It's called the Sunday Showcase, but Dermot at one point called it the Shunday Showcase. So I ended up adopting that name, and we still continue to call it the Shunday Showcase from here. But people can share their images then for what they shot for the past week or the past month or what they've just edited. It's purely an opportunity to kind of show your photographs. So, if you haven't been in the group already, we'd love to see you over there. And if you are in the group already, thanks very much for sharing your fantastic shots on a regular basis. Now, every so often, I used to try and do it kind of once a month when we were doing podcasts every single week, but now we're doing podcasts every 2 weeks, so I'm not going to do them every month, because that would mean every second podcast is going to be the Shunday Showcase. But we'll go through it periodically, and we'll have a guest person on, like for example with you this evening, to go through and pick out 3 images that stood out to you. Now, I've picked out my 3, and you've picked out your 3. And throughout all the time that myself and Dermot were doing it, we never once got a match. Okay. Now, the last time I did it with Bernard. Myself and Bernard matched one image, which was amazing. It was great to do that. So it'll be interesting to see how you and I now get on. I don't know the 3 images that you've chosen. You don't know the 3 images that I've chosen. So we'll dive right in. I suppose, I'll be the gentleman. I'll let you go first, Rodney, since you're the guest on the podcast. So what's the first image that you chose from last Sunday's Sunday Showcase?
So I'm just going to pop my image up on the screen here, and it's an image by a Dave Kremen.
Okay.
And it is a streetscape.
Okay.
There's a lady walking with a red hat,
Quality
It's
shot. Yeah.
it's all about color. I mean, there's just a fantastic color scheme going on in this image. Just patterns. It's really eye catching. Um, this image caught my eyes straight away. It's like something that could have been taken, in one of the cities in the world where you get all this, where you get all these reflections and all this beautiful color going on, and all the reflected light. It's
Mm-hmm.
just such a simple image. I think it's fantastic. You can. I'm looking in the car here now, and I'm even getting the writing over the door reflecting in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a fantastic image. It's so well put together. That person with the red hat, um, just nicely placed. Even the stickers on the door there. There's a bit of red on one of the stickers on the door. Um, had the person been walking anywhere else, I think any nearer to the center of the image, it wouldn't have worked. Had they been walking any further out of the image, I don't think it would have worked either. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just what I would call perfection, Darren. Um, even looking at the window wiper there, there's the window wiper is actually looks like it's up in the car, and that's
Mm-hmm.
creating a diagonal line even on the car on the windscreen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
this image, this one stood out for me. Um,
And you know what? It stood out for me as well. It stood out for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, uh, Dave is somebody who goes on Instagram called Jasperoff, and he's a very, very good street photographer. But what stood out for me on this one was that he posted it on Monday. So his Monday showcase is great. And I agree with you. Monday showcase is great. But what I definitely agree with you, as you said a moment ago here, is that the color contrast within this is
yeah,
phenomenal. You've got very, very striking reds. You've got a greeny blue, which effectively are on the opposite end of the color wheel as well. So, they're contrasting colors that are there. The red of the hat is almost exactly the same red that you see on the wall. But what jumped for me on this image, and I didn't pick it, by the way, we don't have a match right from the very
hmm
beginning, but what jumped for me on this is this image tells a story. You can see this woman, she's wearing a mask. You can see that the shutter is half down on this business. So
yeah,
obviously we're in lockdown.
hmm
And it is a very, very good photo to be able to capture a moment in time, which is what we're dealing at the moment. And as you say, with the car, the car for me as well, I looked at that and I went, wow, look at this. Look at the way the car is. But more importantly, look at the shadow. Look at the way the light is hitting the wall. It's almost following the same
oh
shape of
yeah,
that exact
mm,
diagonal that you mentioned a moment ago that's there within that front on the windscreen wiper of the car as well. So for me, absolutely, I think that's a really, really nice shot. And, I agree, with everything that you said. And I think it's a very, very good image to pick from the beginning. And again, like you said from the outset, not something that I would have expected you to pick. Because for that reason, I suppose, that you're a landscape photographer. Okay, you're a shadowscape photographer. You're a cloudscape photographer. But, this is a cityscape. But I think this one, it definitely jumps off the screen, yeah?
yeah. For me, Darren, like I always kind of tend to look on merit of an image. Whether it's like you should never be drawn to something, just because it's your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or you
Mm-hmm.
should never not like something because it's not your thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I look at images and I see them. There it's I'm I probably would be harder on a landscape image than I would, you know,
Mm-hmm.
on any other image. Um, but at the same time, I feel you have to look at images unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you like them or not doesn't come into it. Whether it's not your
Mm-hmm.
thing. I think I actually judged a competition somewhere, and I gave it was a nude one, So
Mm-hmm.
and there was loads of landscapes and there was loads of streetscapes, but
Mm-hmm.
it was the best image, And for me, that's my opinion, And this is the one image that just caught my eye. It just jumped out at me, and they're all fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
I could pick
But I,
I could have picked 6 or 7 images easily.
yeah, it's the same thing every time we do it. Like I said, I
Mm,
mean, that it's such a hard job to kind of pick just three. But I think that's a very, very good example of the merits behind an image as to why. Because
yeah,
for me, looking at that, that jumped out at me, like I said, not because it was the Monday showcase, but because
yeah,
exactly on the way that it was composed, the lady, the
yeah,
way she's walking, and the diagonals are perfect as well. I think it's a
yeah,
really, really good shot. And you mentioned here about, not picking something that you're interested in or that you'd be normally drawn to, let's just say. My first choice is something that I would struggle to take a photograph of. And I suppose the image that I had chosen was a guy called Patrick McHugh, and it's an image of an American bald eagle.
Oh yeah.
And he says on the hunt for fresh fish lunch. Okay. Now, what I love about this image is you can see that there's action within this image. You've got this bird that it's around about 2 feet off the water. The water looks as if it's frozen as well, so it's obviously taken recently. And the way the image is photographed with the shutter speed, with the composition, but you know that he's heading somewhere, and you can see that there is intent on this bird's movement. Now, to capture that image, you are either going to be out in the wilds. I mean, obviously, this is not in Ireland. I don't think there's going to be an American bald eagle in Ireland, so it's somebody from afar, okay? You're either going to be in an area where you're in a national park where there's a sanctuary and there's a lot of these birds, or you're out there specifically to take that shot. And the reason I say that I'd never be able to take this shot is, number one, I don't have the patience. That's the first thing, okay? To be standing and sitting around all day waiting for this one particular moment to come. But number two, I've struggled in the past even trying to take the simplest photographs of a robin or of a finch or whatever it may be, because they move so quickly. This bird, it's a much bigger subject. Yeah. They're huge. I don't know if you've ever seen an American bald eagle, but they're huge.
They're massive,
huge,
I've seen
huge
one.
birds, you know?
Yeah.
But even when he's taking this photograph, to me, it's simple. It's like as if it's a minimalist image because there's very little else within the image. But I can see that there's something about to happen. And to be able to be there in that spot, that's a skill in itself. But then to be able to get that shot, it's tack sharp. Okay, I like the composition, like I said. And even on the processing of the image too. There's not much to process from a color point of view because it's very, very open and bare, blank negative space, let's just say. But you can see the detail on the bird. And I'd love to be able to see the raw image of that because Facebook, as you know, compresses the absolute of every single image. Yeah. But even looking at this one, it was really, really good. And it jumped straight off the screen to me. Yeah. And I think, you can even see the talons are out. They're just about to go in. Now, if I was to be critical on this, I would say it's about to get lunch. It would be better if you had him after he got his lunch because then you'd have that action. You'd have that fish in the talons. Now, maybe he missed, I don't know, or maybe the bird missed, I don't know. But for me, when I saw this image, I went, yeah, man, that's definitely going to be my first choice. And not something that I would normally pick, Rodney.
Yeah, it's a fantastic image. I did look at it. I did look at it. It did catch my eye as well. And I thought the detail was amazing. And I suppose, well worthy of being picked, It wasn't too far away from mine either, no. I've just come up with an idea actually there for all the guys blowing dingle now where fungi is missing. They need to get one. They need to get one in a golden eagle. it'll save the economy. You just buy one of them. You'll get one from somewhere. That dingle started for another 20 years.
It is, yeah. Although no in Ireland, I don't know, there'll be some so-and-sos that'll go off and try and poison them, like as we've introduced eagles back into Ireland there in the last number of years, and they've been poisoned. So yeah, I don't like that. One of
those boys now would save the economy below dingle, I can guarantee you.
Yeah, might be no harm, yeah. What would you call him?
You can get someone to come up with their name for the next showcase.
Yeah, exactly. So look, and I think what I like about this as well is that it just shows the breadth of the scale, I suppose, of the width of the podcast. Yeah. This is somebody from the US. Wow. It's not something which is just purely in regards to from Ireland. And I think, thanks very much, Patrick, for sharing the shot. I really, really liked it. And as you say, look, I mean, it almost made your choices, I imagine, as well. But yeah, look, well done. Fantastic shot. I'd love to see if you got one of them afterwards, like I said a moment ago. But for me, it's a great photograph.
Yeah, it's my first time now actually even looking at the images, Darren, for the Shunday Showcase. And I was really amazed with where people are from, a lot of names I didn't recognize at all. And you have fantastic support coming in there on the images, far and wide.
It's great.
Far and wide.
Yep. Far and wide. We have a lot of people that listen from Canada, a lot of people listen from the US. We have a lot of people from Australia as well.
Brilliant.
And a few, we often see on the stats as well, there's a few Russians listening in as well. I don't know, maybe they're trying to steal ideas.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my first choice. So we haven't had a match in here from the first for the 1-on-1. So go on, Rodney. What's your second choice?
Okay, so my second choice, it's actually a drawn image.
Okay.
And I think it's by David Lockman, is it?
Okay.
I think it could be Drogheda, I'm not sure, or Dundalk
Okay.
maybe. Just the color tones in the image are absolutely, they're fantastic. There's a railway line cutting across the front of it. Then you have a bridge. There's a kind of a river going right through the image that leads down to a spire. You have an island out in the distance that's disappearing in mist. Is it an island or is it a mountain? It's a frosty morning. There's people for scale walking along the. It's probably a canal. It's a canal actually.
Okay.
Now that I'm looking at it, I love the way the image disappears off into the distance. You have the houses there with the fires on, creating ambience. The light is coming from the right hand side. Just a really beautiful image.
Do you know what? It's interesting. I spotted that as well, and I didn't pick it. But for everything that you said there, what really jumped out at me in that image was you can tell that it's a cold morning because you can see by the snow that's on the ground.
Yeah.
But you can also tell that it's a cold morning because of the light, and that's what I love about it, because the light is coming from the right, as you say, and the way the whole thing is composed, you are drawn through the image.
Yeah, it's
you know.
I love the composition of it. You're drawn down the center. You have lovely arcs going on in the front of it with the road and the railway line. You have light and dark. You're just carried through that image, you really are.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And I suppose the interesting thing, as you know, when you have your Mavic 2 Pro, like the quality you can get out of that now is phenomenal. It's a 20 megapixel image, right? And if you do multiple exposure bracketing as well, you can handle your lights. But even the focus that you have on that, you could zoom all the way in there, and I can guarantee you could pick out a number of other photographs from that one shot.
Oh, you could, yeah. For me, I think the complexity of an image like this, when you're composing it or when you're looking at it after, you'll always say, "Oh, geez, I don't like that down there. It's ugly looking. That's dirty looking." And I always kind of find that after when I look at drawn images, I say, "That's really ugly now," and I don't want that. But everything in this image just kind of works. It's obviously there's some bit of a yard there on the right. Oh, it's actually a halting site. It's either a halting site or a caravan park. But
see that,
nothing. And if you look over then on the left hand side, if you look in the bottom right, you have a kind of an earthy area, a blank earthy area that's mirrored on the left hand side on the other side of the railway. And then you go from the right hand side again where those caravans are, and you move over to the left where you have a series of houses, and there's almost a little kind of a triangle, an arrowhead going on there, a triangle. Do you know?
I see that. Yeah.
And then if you go further left again, the houses are coming back in at an angle. It is a really, really clever image.
The other part I really like about it too is that see that mist that you see in the air. Is that fog or is that coming from chimneys? Because you've got a lot of chimneys that are emitting smoke there.
Yeah.
And is it household chimneys? Is it industrial chimneys?
There's a certain ambience anyway created. That's really nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. And it actually shows that I suppose the benefit of having the drone.
Yes.
Because you'd never see this. You'd never get this shot if you had a static camera on the ground.
Yeah, definitely.
You'd never be able to tell that story, and you'd never be able to take somebody from, as you say a second ago. You got one railway bridge, then you've got a road, then you've got a canal, whatever that I don't even know what they call them. Was it a canal bridge? It's a lock. That's the word I was looking for.
The lock gates,
yeah. But then even if you look at that, and again, this is on Facebook, and we were able to see the quality, the detail of the quality. But you can go further up there, and you can see then you're going into the town or whatever it is, because you can see the church spire.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. It'd be nice if David would come back maybe and let us know, in the group. Fantastic image, absolutely fantastic. The color tone is there's an orange kind of an autumn color underlying color tone to it, and it really suits it, you know.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh, good second choice. I didn't pick that one, so we don't have a match again. So
Okay.
let's see if I'm picking this one. Or sorry, let's see if my next image, if you picked it for your third image. I don't know if you have or not, but my next image is an image by Kevin Carroll, and it's Sunset Our Lady's Island in Wexford. And it's just something about the image that when I first looked at it, it drew me in. And it drew me in because you have, I think it's, you're close enough to the water there. You've got the reeds and such like that. You can see the reflection of the reeds. The reeds are breaking the horizon. You've got the sun that's just setting on the horizon, and you've got this flat water, which is reflecting the most beautiful sky that you can see. There's a lovely gap as well, just above where the sun is. And then you get the clouds that are being caught by that color at the very, very top, being framed in nicely. And everything within the image is bringing me right through to see more. And I'm looking in towards the sun, but even at that, there's not much complication within the image, but I really, really liked the way that it's processed, the way that he's framed it, the conditions that it's in. You know, that could be anywhere. You wouldn't know.
Yeah,
where
I
you
saw
are
that
when
image
you're
there and it
looking at
caught
that.
my eye as well. I thought it's a fantastic image. I suppose I kind of went for something possibly a little bit different, but I'm glad I did, because I think, you know, 6 images are being featured, and that's probably, I feel that's better, you know, than the if we were to clash.
Then 5.
Yeah, you know,
Then 5. Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm not one bit disappointed that we haven't clashed, you know, for that particular
Okay.
reason.
So you haven't picked that image, so as your
No,
last one. I suppose
no.
what like the one thing I would say that I like about this image as well is, as you know, if you're shooting directly into the sun, it can be very, very hard to be able to control the highlights that are within
Mm,
that. Now, he has taken the shot here. There's nothing that's blown. There's nothing that's dark. It's a perfectly composed image for me,
yeah,
but it's perfectly exposed as well. Because again, like I said, I want to go look at it more. And like now, when we look at many images that are out there, this image could have been so easily Instagrammed the death out of it by pushing that saturation slider up to 11.
oh yeah, yeah,
There was no need to do that. And that's one thing that I'm seeing quite a lot of. I mean, I'm doing a bit more now on Instagram, I suppose, and trying to see what's working with Instagram. I know I've had a conversation with you in the past
mm,
about Instagram, is that Instagram seems to like overly saturated images. This is a perfect example where that image could have been overly saturated, but it
definitely.
didn't need it. It was just the right amount. And, you know, Kevin, I think that's a fantastic shot. You got my second vote on that. And thanks again for sharing it within the group. So, Rodney, we are 0 for 0 and with one more to go. So you're on for your last choice. What's
Yeah,
it going to be?
it's actually an image by Andrew Yates. It's
Okay.
an Anatolf, is it? What do you call it? That plane.
Oh, yeah, the Russian plane.
Yeah. Um, okay. You know, I put this one out there for creativity. Like, okay, people might look at it and might say it's a plane. You know, it's a plane. He picked the plane. It's just a plane taking off. But
Hmm.
for me, there's a lot more going on in this picture than, you know. There's a sense of movement.
Hmm.
The plane is just lifting, and
Hmm.
if you even look there, the two wheels on the opposite side are just off the runway as well.
Hmm.
You have the rain, you know. There's a huge sense of ambience about it. You have a fantastic color scheme. You have the again. He's framed it very, very cleverly, where he has the runway at a slight angle,
Hmm.
and he then has a diagonal coming down on the color scheme of the plane.
Hmm.
You have the blue rotors with slight blurred movement in them. In the background has slight blurred movement. You can
Hmm.
make out the pilots inside in the plane. Um, I really think this is a really, really clever image, and it's creativity. That's why I have picked this one. I feel it's hugely creative, you know. It really stood out to me. I couldn't pass it. I just felt I had to put it in there. Even if you look at that, there's a wire. There's a wire coming from the top of the plane, and it's gone back, I presume, to the tail. And even that wire, he has a tree, and that tree is just underneath that wire. It hasn't broken the line. You know, and if you look at the nose of the plane, it's fitting in lovely to the trees in the background. You know, it's just nicely. There's a lot of lovely shapes going on in it, and I look for a lot of that in my photography. I look for shape, I look for color that works together. There is a nice grey in the background as well. That doesn't. There's a lot of the sky in the background, but the color is muted, and it doesn't. It doesn't distract. You know, you can get a lot of, let's say, shitty greys. Sorry, no, Darren, for swearing.
No, you're fine.
Mucky greys. And like what I do like then is you have the white of the plane standing out against, you know, that grey background. The lights, you know, you have the couple of lights on there. I really like this image. That's an image, if I had taken it, I'd have that up on my wall, you know. There's a spray coming off the runway. You know, you can almost see that. And I think the way he's cropped this, very clever. It wouldn't have the same impact did he have the runway kind of horizontal and level, you know.
I think you're spot on in everything that you said about it. And one thing I suppose that is the technical ability as well to be able to take this shot, because he's panning with the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you can see the way he's panning, because if you look at the rain that's coming past the wheels, the rain is coming again at that exact same diagonal angle that you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, to be able to, number one, see it, but number two, take it.
Oh, yeah. And
I think that's, you know, the testament.
This, I suppose it wouldn't have been, it's a big unit to move down the runway. He might have got off a few shots, but this one is perfect because the nose of the plane is just lifting off the runway, you know. I think this image is perfect. I absolutely do, you know. It's just, he nailed it.
Yeah, well done, Andrew. Fantastic shot. You know, you got Rodney's third choice, and I think, look, you know, I've my one to come.
Yes,
but I can tell you straight out now, we haven't matched, so I haven't picked that image, and I really, really, really struggled to pick a third image. To be honest with you, for the reasons that you mentioned early on, you know, in regards to the quality of the images that are out there. But the one that I actually did pick was one by Anthony Lynch, and it's Croix Woods in Dublin Mountains.
Yeah.
And the reason I picked that is not only is it a fantastic image, but Anthony is very, very, very creative, and he's very, very good with the camera. And for me, on this image, it's a wood, it's in the snow, it's in the fog. That's enough. But no, Anthony has to make it better. And then he goes into the shot. That's enough too. But no, not enough. He then has to add something in his hand, which is a light. And it's a light source. And it brings you into that image to try and figure out more. And even with the color of the light is a yellow light. And you've got a very kind of a cold scene that's there as well. And the way that it's framed, you've got the tree on the left-hand side. You've got this old fallen log that he stood right next to. And that light is lighting up the frozen ground as well. And for me on that image, I looked at it and went, wow. I really, really like that, because like for me on an image, it has to tell a story, but it also has to make you want to be there or want to know more and want to be able to look in more and go, what's in there? And I think Anthony has nailed it on this shot, and I really, really liked it. I liked the concept, I liked the execution, I liked the editing, but moreover for me, I think it was just the whole package that it kind of went, wow, look at that. Bang. Yeah. So it was really, really hard for me. And Anthony's image wasn't the third image that I picked, but it was the third that I'm speaking about right now. In fact, you know, so like even at that, when I had all three images picked, I was still looking at other images, trying to think, could I take one out to put another one in? And this is one that I would not have taken out, because to me, I went, he's up. If you see Anthony on there, he's up at the dawn of crack every single time there's an opportunity for a photograph. He's either in Phoenix Park, or he's up in the Dublin Mountains, or he's somewhere that he wants to be able to take some astrophotography as well. And Anthony's a previous guest on the podcast from a very, very early, long time ago. But even looking at this now, to me, I went, yeah, man.
Yeah, there's fantastic ambience in that image. has Anthony written all over it. His work is amazing. For me, he's one of the best in the country at what he does. I feel he's probably the top astrophotographer we have. He's consistently putting out strong images, and his technical abilities, his technical know-how of how to push any kind of an image together is top class. He's a really, really strong photographer, and I admire Anthony's work. It's very, very good.
Well, speaking of Astro, Rodney, and I know we said we can only pick 3, but I'm going to break the rules here because I just want to give a hat tip to somebody, which is Cian Ryan, and Cian has just picked up a set of filters which are for the Alan Wallace case filters that are Starglow filters, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what Cian can do. He has one image up there now where he's taken a photograph above Belvedere Castle. And you can see the stars that are actually appearing within it, and I think it'll be quite interesting to see what that's going to end up delivering, because that's an interesting filter system. But I definitely think that I'm looking forward to seeing what Cian can come up with, because for somebody again that puts the hard work in, that's another example. I mean, like he took a photograph down there in Monkstown of the moon. Coming up over the church spire.
Okay.
And again, it was fantastic the way that he did it. But just a slight hat tip, I suppose, to Cian. I'm interested to see how he's going to come on with that astro point of view and with that Starglow filter as well.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out on him. I'll have a look at him. But very minute we come off of this, I'll have a look. He's a Cork man, obviously, is he?
Yeah, he is by. He is by.
Yeah.
All right, by.
We have to support our own, Darren.
Absolutely. So look, Rodney, that's the 3 images picked, I suppose, from each of us. We didn't get a match, but I think we both picked fantastic images, 6 quality images there out of the 73 images that were put through overall from yesterday, which was the Shunday Showcase from the 10th of January. So thanks to everybody for sharing your images. Continue to share them every single week, and again, we'll pick up one of these in a couple of weeks again, and we'll discuss some more images as well from the great community that we have on Facebook. So we're going to take a very, very quick break, Rodney, and we'll come back now with the second part of the show, which is our Instagram Spotlight. If you're enjoying this episode of the podcast, why not jump over to iTunes or Spotify and listen to the back catalogue that we have with some great episodes where we talk about photography, gear, and some excellent guests along the way. Thanks very much for listening and for watching. We'll see you on the next one. And you're very welcome back to the Irish Photography Podcast. So, Rodney, now we're moving on to the second part of this episode, which is the Instagram Spotlight. And what that basically is that we pick a profile, somebody who is very, very good, I suppose, from the first instance, but also, somebody who tags us on the Instagram profile, hashtag the Irish Photography Podcast or at the Irish Photography Podcast. And, we love then to be able to share out the work as well. Every Friday, I've been doing it, I think, for the last 6 months or something like that, which is the Feature Friday feature. And this is somebody whose work who has stood out to me head and shoulders above the rest on a number of occasions because of the skill set that he has developed, but more importantly, how fast he has developed that skill set. So my Instagram spotlight for this episode is Keith, and he goes by the name on Instagram, which is MacSnapagram. And, Keith's work really, really stood out to me. From the moment I first started to see his work, he started off from a traditional kind of a landscape point of view. He was doing different hiking and such like that. And, when you look at his Instagram grid, you'll very quickly see that you've got a very, very talented photographer here. But when I tell you that he's doing it for, I think it's 9 months, you will be blown away when you see the quality of the images that Keith is able to produce. Are you familiar with Keith's profile and his work?
Yeah, I'd be familiar, Darren, with him. His work is, all I can say is outstanding. I would have seen Keith probably early on. I think he would have been out with Mark there a few times, Mark O'Brien. I suppose if you were to look at his portfolio, the first thing you look at is MacSnapagram. I mean, that's kind of that's a bit mad in itself, That catches just that catches me straight away,
Yeah,
fantastic, fantastic name to have there for his page. I would have looked at him, and he's coming on very, very strong. Absolutely, very, very strong. and the quality of work that he's putting out is just fantastic. He knows his technical stuff. He knows how to put an image together. He knows what looks right. He knows how to edit. Whether it's a composite or whether it's whatever he puts together, he puts it together right. It doesn't look for me. It doesn't matter whether it's a composite or not. It's an image that one of these guys put together. They put it together extremely well. He does a fantastic job. I mean, for me, the light and shadow is in all the right places. The balance of light in his images, is excellent. I wouldn't want to see any more, or I wouldn't want to see any less. You know.
Yeah, it's just right.
Just right. You know, I see a lot of these images where the balance isn't right, or you see a lot of these images where I'm just looking at one there now from I think it's his last post of the year, where he's standing on a rock, and like he could have left it at that, but he has a foreground washing in front of it, you know, which is just amazing work. I don't know a whole pile about the stars now. There's a big planet there on the left hand side, shining mad, Milky Way directly over him. That's just a fantastic image.
It's fantastic. And you know what, the interesting thing, like I say, is the length of time that he's been doing this, but to not only be able to come up with that image, like you mentioned here, okay, you know, it would be enough to have the water flowing in the background.
Yeah.
But you've got a Milky Way, which is done so well. And now, that's not just taking one photograph of the Milky Way. That's a number of shots of the Milky Way. So to be able to process that, yes, and to get that detail, and to be able to now have the vision, the foresight to not only have that, but also now put himself on a rock, perfectly placed, as if he's holding one of the lights that are within the Milky Way. Yeah. And I think that big planet on the left-hand side is probably with the Great Conjunction or something like that. So it was Jupiter and Saturn and Mars or something like that. There was a big conjunction of planets.
Okay.
But even at that, you know, you look at that image, doesn't it jump out at you? Doesn't it kind of go, wow, I want to know more about that image?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great first example, actually, to pick of his work, you know?
Yeah, his work is excellent, you know. And as I say, Darren, if it's a composite, I don't care. You know, I really don't care. It's to an extent, all these guys, they're compositing images anyway, you know, because you're like, obviously you wouldn't get the water in the foreground like that and get the Milky Way behind. It has to be a blend of two images, but it is so well done, you know. It's just so well balanced. It's amazing work. I mean, I think you mentioned your man in Alan Wallace. Is he the guy in the UK or in Wales?
Yes. Welsh, yeah.
Yeah. I've seen him now, like, you know, and this work is up there, you know. It is.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
You know.
And like for me, when I was looking at, you know, at Keith's profile, I suppose, in his, again, range of photography, the Astro that he has produced is like, there's people out there that would go for years to try and get one of those shots. Yeah. He has a number of those shots. And even like you've got Neowise, the comet, right? Yeah. Not once did I get a photograph of Neowise, even though we were on lockdown and everything like that. Not once did I get a photograph of Neowise. But not only did Keith get a photograph of Neowise, but he also then as well has a Knuckle in Clouds. So he's got a fantastic photograph that's there that, again, like, you're just looking kind of going, wow, man, you've been out there, you've put yourself out there, you got yourself into the position, and you made sure that you were there to be able to take the shot. But not only take the shot now, but don't produce and edit the shot afterwards. And that, for me, when I looked at the from the Astro point of view, that's one shot that nobody. It's not that nobody else would have that shot, but you get one opportunity to get that Neowise comet. I didn't get the opportunity. I have no photograph of it. He has. But not only has he got a photograph of the comet, but he also has a photograph, like I say, with the clouds as well. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And like the other point, I suppose, on that as well is, it's not just Astro. I mean, he's got such a breadth. He's got Black Rock Castle there in the fog. He's got woodlands that are so beautifully lit and beautifully processed that I would really say, you know, if you haven't heard of his work, go on to Instagram, you know, Mac_snap_agram, and you will see the incredible work that he has produced in such a short period of time. I think he's a deserving feature for the Instagram Spotlight.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm just looking there again in his feed now, Darren, and there's a shot of Hookhead. It's a vertical image, and the water is just gorgeous water pouring in over the rocks. It's a lovely, colourful, light, airy image. A lot of. If I'm to analyze images, for me, I tend to look at an image and okay, does it look balanced? And if I'm drawn to any particular area where I feel it's lighter, then maybe I might process it. I know that's wrong. I would pass it over, and I would say, oh no, that's catching my eye, not overdone. But none of these images, they all look beautifully. They're all subtle, they're all
great.
fantastic. His editing is
great.
His editing on all levels is really good. Not just his Astro.
But the one thing I suppose, even from that point of view, is I know that he really immersed himself in learning, and learning from others as well, and to kind of draw the experiences from other people as well. I think, and there is a testament in regards to being able to do that. Like, you can take a shot, fine, but as you say about balance, about the exposure time. We mentioned a second ago about Instagram and how the saturation levels can go up as far as 11. There's nothing of that here. This is beautiful photography, beautiful shots, beautiful scenes, well composed, well exposed, and well processed.
Yeah, it's the balance that stands out for me in all these images, and the balance is perfect. He has everything so well balanced, and I believe when you're doing Astro, I believe if the balance is wrong, it's just not going to look right. Like he has there's another one there now. It's a tractor. And
know that one.
Yeah, no. The tractor is there's just enough light. It doesn't need to be any brighter. The sky, it's if the tractor was brighter, it would stand out. The balance would be all wrong. His balance is just so good, in all his images. And for me, that's the big thing I harp on about when I get people with me. Composition isn't dictated on rules. Composition is dictated on how we balance. For me, on how we balance a scene, whether it's with the composition of elements, or whether it's with the brightness values of those elements within a scene, and he has it all, Darren. He has everything working for him.
He does, in fairness.
Yeah.
You know what? Look, like I said, if you haven't come across his work, it's MC_snap, SNAP_AGRAM. I'd urge your listeners, go on to Instagram, as Peter McKinnon would say, smash that follow button and really enjoy, Keith's work. I might try and get him on actually as a guest and try and get into his head and figure out how he has fast-tracked his journey. I think would make for a very interesting podcast. So yeah, that's our Insta Spotlight. And Rodney, we're done. Thank you very, very much for coming on and giving some fantastic insights. I suppose from your point of view, I think it's been really, really good to hear your thoughts on the different types of photography. But also, I think from our listeners as well, they're able to hear and see now what you're talking about when you look at the images here that we've mentioned as well, not only on the Facebook group, but also on the Instagram as well. So, yeah, thanks a million, buddy.
No, thanks for the invite, Darren. Great. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Another good chat with Rodney O Callaghan. It was so easy flowing, straightforward. So look,
yeah, I've never met Keith now, but I hope to meet him at some point.
I met him actually. He made a cameo in one of my my video there just before Christmas when I was down in Kilfarracy.
Very good.
So if you watch that video, you'll see a guy coming out doing a bit of a dance and clapping his hands and going yoo-hoo!
Okay.
So that was Keith getting some nice movement on the rocks and the water. Yeah. So, yeah. I'll get him on. We'll have him on, and we'll get more information in relation to it. So look, I've been Darren. Thanks very much for tuning in. And if you haven't been on Apple iTunes or Google Play Store or whatever it may be, wherever you listen to your podcast. Really appreciate, if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a comment. It really helps us, I suppose, to be able to spread the message far and wide. And Rodney, thank you very much, like I say, for coming on again. And sure, hopefully, someday soon, we'll be able to get out and shoot again anyway together, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, Darren. We'll have to stick within the 5K. We'll have to tell them all that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, look,
well, the drone.
It's getting too serious now. We have to be sensible. We have to be careful. That's the long and the short of it, isn't it?
That's the reality, I'm afraid. Yeah, So look, Until the next time, anyway, from me in Cork, slán go fóill.
I suppose slán from Doneraile.
Hey guys, if you dig what you're hearing, why don't you jump over to iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and don't forget to share with your friends. With all that done, we'll see you next week. And remember, keep shooting.